Good evening, everybody. I'm very excited. We're starting almost exactly on time, only a few minutes off. My name is Vicki Martin, and I am the forum chairman for the League of Women Voters of the Palatine, Barrington, and Schaumburg areas. And we thank you for attending this evening's candidate forum featuring the candidates running for the Board of Palatine School District 15. Our league area includes not only Palatine, Barrington, and Schaumburg, but Inverness, Hoffman Estates, and Rolling Meadows. So we have a very large area of constituents, and we want to really thank all of you for coming out tonight. Founded in 1920, the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan grassroots political organization that neither supports nor opposes or endorses candidates for any office. The League was founded here in Chicago over 100 years ago in order to help educate the new female voters who had just been given the right to vote. The League's purpose is to promote civic responsibility through informed and active participation of all citizens. Providing this forum enables members of the community to become better informed about the issues facing the community and candidates running for office. We're pleased to offer this service for you. Before we go any further, as a way to remind ourselves why we're all here, and that regardless of our individual political views, we are all Americans, I'm going to ask you to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. You can imagine the flag. I didn't ask for it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There's some general information that I want to share with you before we begin. Today's forum will be recorded for the League of Women Voters' use in educating the public. A video of this forum will be available in the next few days on the League of Women Voters of the Palatine, etc. area website. The candidates have all agreed to this. The League claims copyright ownership of all recordings or transcripts produced from this event and reserves the right to publicize this forum. All audience members are hereby advised that their image may appear in the forum video or in photographs of the forum. To view this forum, go to the League's website, www.lwvpalatinearea.org. Again, we want to thank all of you for taking the time to attend this forum. In order to stay within our time limits and out of respect for the candidates and your fellow attendees, we ask that you hold your applause until the end of the forum. No questions will be taken from the floor, and no interruptions, heckling, or other disruptions will be tolerated. Please treat your fellow audience, League volunteers, and candidates with respect. This forum is co-sponsored by the Northwest Suburban Council PTA. As you know, PTAs have historically been one of the strongest advocates for the education of our children, and we are grateful to have their participation this evening. Would our PTA members raise their hands? Yay, PTA. Now I am pleased to introduce our moderator for today's forum, Jackie McGrath. Jackie is a member of the League of Women Voters and has been trained by the League. She's an outgoing member of the Barrington Library Board, so she's got firsthand experience not only as a moderator, but as a candidate. She's also a former educator. We're very fortunate that she's able to be with us this evening. Thank you.
That was a nice introduction. Thank you very much, Vicki. So, good evening. It's my pleasure to be with you here this evening to moderate this candidate forum. As a resident of Barrington, I'm not eligible to vote in this election, so I've been asked to serve as an impartial facilitator for this discussion as a volunteer with the League of Women Voters. Let me take a few minutes to explain the format and the rules of this forum. All the candidates were contacted by mail, email, or phone and have agreed to abide by the ground rules provided by the League of Women Voters. They are as follows. Candidates have drawn numbers to determine speaking order. I will rotate this order during the forum for questions. Each candidate will answer every question. Candidates' answers will be timed by a team of timers. Our head timer has been trained by the league. The other two timers are officers of the Northwest Suburban Council PTA. They will hold up a sign indicating how much time the speaker has left. Timers, please raise your signs so everyone can see them. Okay, thank you. And thanks to all of our timers for their assistance tonight. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for their opening statement. Next, each candidate will have 1 minute to answer questions. I will repeat the questions if necessary. Candidates will be given a 30-second and a 15-second warning before they see the stop card. Time limits will be enforced out of respect for all candidates. If needed, a rebuttal may be requested. Each candidate may use a maximum of 2 rebuttals. Rebuttals will be timed and limited to 30 seconds each. At the end of the questions, each candidate will have a 1-minute closing statement. Questions have been submitted by audience members at the time of registration, the candidates themselves, and by local civic organizations. Questions have been reviewed for clarity, appropriateness, and to avoid duplication. We have done our best to ensure the questions are free of inherent bias. Candidates have been asked not to interrupt one another. Today, we will hear from the candidates hoping to serve on the board of Palatine School District 15. With us today and on the ballots are Lisa Beth Shupai, Eric Bachman, Frank Anarino, James Taylor, and Anthony Wong. I want to thank all of you for your participation. We will begin with your 2-minute opening statements. By number draw, candidate Shupai will go first. Thank you, and now candidate Shupai, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Bachman's here. Good evening. Thanks for coming out this evening. My name is Lisa Beth Shupai. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting us this evening. I have been honored to serve as the president of the Community Consolidated School District 15, I've been honored to serve as the president of the Community Consolidated School District 15 Board of Education for the last 8 years, and it has been a true pleasure. During that time, I have worked diligently to be a good steward of taxpayer dollars. I've worked to ensure communication and transparency between the board and the community. I've worked to bring change and bring improvement to our schools. I've worked to provide educational opportunities. And I've also worked diligently to elevate facilities and to benefit our students, our neighborhoods, and our property values. I feel strongly that I've helped to build a solid foundation for the future of District 15. I was actively involved in community engagement, in direction, and the planning for the Moving 15 Forward initiative commencing in 2017. And if I had to tell you how many meetings I sat in with a lot of community members, many of whom are in this room, as we worked through to come up with the priorities in the plan, you would be stunned. But it was worth all of it. Once that plan was in order, I worked really hard to ensure that the community knew about the plan, they understood the ramifications, they understood what we were trying to do, and also the money to be spent. And we were fortunate to come in on time and under budget with Moving 15 Forward. So thank you for your support with that, and I would appreciate the opportunity to serve again.
Thank you. And could I ask the audience to please withhold your applause?
That was my fault.
And
New guy.
Okay. Okay, so now we'll hear from candidate Bachman.
Thanks to the League of Women Voters and for all of you for being here tonight. My name is Eric Bachman, and I'm a school board, District 15 school board candidate My wife and I have lived in Palatine for close to 30 years, and for 20 of those years, we have been District 15 parents until this year when my daughter became a freshman. At Friend, we've been in the Paddock, Plum Grove area. But we love the district so much. We have 5 children, all with different ability levels and special needs. Our twins were adopted out of foster care. My daughter wears hearing aids. We have some gifted learners, and despite all 5 different learning styles, the district did a remarkable job of meeting the needs of all 5 of them. 4 of them have graduated from Friend, and now we're going on our last round of Friend. I am originally from Las Vegas, which a lot of people don't. I'm that one guy that is from Vegas. I came out to Northwestern, did my music education and percussion degree, my master's, and I just recently retired as a band director at the elementary and middle school level in Park Ridge. I play percussion in the Palatine concert band. I'm also involved in the community through Scouts and I'm assistant scoutmaster for Troop 209 here in Palatine. And I sub in the district in D15 and D211. As a band director, I saw how students of all ability levels came together to achieve a common goal, and I really believe we can do that on the board. I have a unique perspective as a retired educator for 34 years and a longtime District 15 parent, and I believe we can band together. Yes, it's kind of cheesy, but it works on both levels. For all students, I believe in making quality connections with community and staff, collaborating with the board, fostering high standards, promoting diversity and inclusion, special needs, mental health, safe learning environments, responsible spending, but most of all, education that is the best for all students. My name is Eric Bachman, and I hope for your vote on April 1st. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll hear from candidate Iannarino.
All right, I'm Frank Iannarino, and I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and for all of you coming out tonight for this event to learn more about the candidates. I originally ran for the Board of Education because as a parent of 4 children in District 15, I wanted to see a board that was more engaged with the community and responsive to its needs. Since my election in 2017, I've had the privilege of serving as the Vice President of the board, and I'm proud of all we've accomplished. I set out with a few goals, and over the last 2 terms, we've achieved much more. We increased school safety with secure entryways to all our schools. We standardized new curriculum across all 19 schools to ensure that every student has access to the best possible educational opportunities. And then we developed and implemented the Moving 15 Forward plan. This was a community-driven effort that has brought substantial improvements. This included revising school boundaries to create community schools. This also provided a smooth transition for students going from elementary school, middle school, and then high school, and keeping the friends together. We renovated all the school's aging facilities, provided modern, safe environments for our students. We converted our junior highs to middle schools, giving 6th graders more educational and extracurricular opportunities. We introduced full-day kindergarten, setting up our youngest student learners for success. As an engineer, I approach decision-making with a data-driven mindset, always weighing the trade-offs between time, cost, and resources. This problem-solving approach has helped me make informed decisions as a board member and ask the right questions to ensure the best outcomes for our district. Looking forward, I am committed to continuing to improve the academic achievement of our students. We must ensure that our students and staff have the resources and support they need to excel. I believe continuous innovation in teaching is key to meet the future needs of our students, preparing them for success. In conclusion, please ask for your votes, and I want to continue giving you guys the great leadership that I think I've given to achieve all that we've done in the last 8 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from candidate Taylor.
Hello, thank you everyone for coming, and thank you again to the League of Women Voters for having us here today. I've been both proud and kind of excited to be part of the board for District 15 for the last 4 years. It's been very interesting and kind of exciting ride that I was involved in. It's been a learning experience all 4 of those years. I am a school-based occupational therapist by trade. I have 3 kids in the district, and one of those kids has special needs and complex medical issues, which is part of the reason why I was interested in being on the board in the first place. I ran as a way to bring a unique perspective to the board. It was not an issue that I wanted to resolve or someone on the board that I needed to get off or anything like that. There was no contention that I needed to resolve like that or anything of that nature. I just really wanted to bring a unique perspective to the board. I am a parent in the district. I work as an educator in special education, and again, have a child with some special needs, and I thought I had a really great perspective to bring to the board in the decision-making process as they moved throughout that process. And then when I was elected, I was lucky enough to get involved at a pivotal point in that moving 15 forward ambition, and it was quite a wild ride, and it was a lot of fun. There was a ton of work that was accomplished before my time on the board, and so much work that we accomplished in the 4 years that I was on the board, and it was really an amazing thing to see get accomplished by both the board as well as the community and all of the people involved in District 15. It was quite a feat, and we thank you all for your help with that. But there's still a lot of work to do. Moving 15 forward, the big projects are done, of course, but we still have to get all of that work done and rolling. The first school year is off to a great start, but we have a lot of things to really keep moving and get put in place, and I really hope to ask for your vote to be able to continue to do that and see that everything goes as we had planned and as smoothly as we hoped to do. So hopefully I can get your vote to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Wong?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Anthony. Again, I want to thank the legal voters and community members for coming out here and just giving me a chance to listen to us. A little bit about myself. So I am a father to 2 Lake Louise students. So I have children in the district, and I've been in education from a leadership capacity for 15 years now. Going back to the time that ran for District 15 in 2017, I ran on a platform of community engagement and transparency and just better communication. I think that you will see with the results that we've had since that time, that we've had improvements in all those areas. Certainly there's ways that we can continue to improve, but I think really the pinnacle of that was moving 15 forward and really putting our district in a great position in our community for the future. We've done a lot of other huge accomplishments since that time. Starting out from 2017, and then we worked on the one-to-one Chromebook initiative, and then going into securing entrances. I think security was a huge part of that as well. And then mental health. That's been a huge post-COVID push for us, making sure that all the classrooms have the right supports and the students have what they need for the mental health moving forward. So I think we've put the district in a really good position, but there's always more work to be done. I've been fortunate enough to finish out my 2nd term here with the district, and been involved with the finance committee as well, and so that's been helpful to make sure that we are keeping track of our district dollars and that money is being well spent. I would ask for your vote again in April and to serve a 3rd term. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now let's move on to questions. Remember, you each have 1 minute to answer. This is question number 1. What are the most current and future challenges facing the district? How would you address them? Candidate Wong.
I would say for us, I would say the biggest. Give me one moment here. I would say the biggest challenges that we have in the district moving forward, first off, is attracting and retaining the best teachers and classroom staff that we can. District 15 teachers and staff, they certainly deserve to be paid what they're worth and the value they bring to the classroom. And so I know that's a huge kind of next step for us, is ensuring that we've got the right classroom support and the right contract in place moving forward. And then the other thing I would say is financial. Looking forward, certainly there was not a low cost price tag to that, and we need to be diligent with that money that's being spent, moving forward.
Candidate Shupai.
Hey there. So, in my mind, there are two challenges. One of those challenges is recruitment, which is what Anthony indicated. And that recruitment for me is not only teaching staff, which we have been suffering from a 10-year contract that started our incoming teachers at very low salary levels and has caused us to have an issue attracting teachers compared to other districts around us. We just fixed that recently, and thank you to the union for working with us and helping us do that. We also, recruitment for bus drivers, we're really struggling with that, but it's not just District 15. This is a problem across the United States, and it's really been impactful to getting, providing our kids with great education. Third thing is definitely budgetary. We talked throughout the whole roadshow for moving 15 forward about how we expect it to be pretty tight on budget and probably running a little deficit for the first year or two after, and we find ourselves exactly where we thought we were going to be. So that's something we need to watch tightly and pull tight.
Candidate Bachman.
Well, I think I got one. So you kind of stole my thunder on that one. I appreciate, I totally agree as far as being a former teacher and making sure that teachers are paid a fair salary is something I more than agree with. In addition to our bus drivers and our support staff, our ESPs, our PAs, and people like that. Something that the district has done a good job of, but something I think that we need to continue to do in light of the way the country is right now, as far as diversity and inclusion, and making sure that all kids feel safe and supported, and to promote anti-bullying programs and to keep trying to educate kids on acceptance across the board, so that every kid has an equal chance to participate in all the activities that we offer here in District 15. Thank you.
Candidate Anarino.
The biggest challenges we're facing right now would be, I'd say finance is always a challenge. We definitely want to try to keep working within our resources. After COVID, there were government money that went away, and I think the district needs to get accustomed now to that money not being there. It's going to mean some hard decisions are going to have to be made in the near future to make sure that we keep our budget balanced. Academic achievement, we saw a big hit on that after COVID, and unfortunately that's continued. So we need to strive even harder now to engage the children, to engage the parents to help also, so we can boost the academic achievement of our children and get them up where they should be. Recruitment of teachers is very important, and I think we did a big improvement in being able to do that because we got a new teacher's contract done just recently. And with that new 4-year deal, we're going to be increasing the base pay of our teachers so that they'll be able to attract and be competitive with the surrounding districts. Thank you.
Candidate Taylor.
So unfortunately, it'll be a boring answer because I'm going to be agreeing with everybody so far. Yeah, finance and budget I think is going to be one of the primary things. Like Lisa said, going into week 15 forward, it was clear and transparent that we were going to have some budget issues after, and how could we not? And so the district has been pretty transparent about that. I think continuing to do that as we have been is going to be really important. And some kind of sub-factors of that we mentioned, teachers, and we're really successful with working with the CCC on that new contract and new base pay. Drivers, of course, is going to be an important thing. And then I also agree with Mr. Bachman on really continuing the efforts the district has been doing with inclusion. I think there's some focus on it right now. We can do even more of that, making sure that all of our students are included in as many mainstream things as we can in all aspects of the district. I'm really taking a look at our self-contained classrooms and seeing those programs that we have, what's necessary, what's not, and seeing how we can continue to our efforts and making sure that there's a lot of inclusion going on as much as we can.
Next question. Please explain why you do or do not support funding private school choice. We'll start with candidate Taylor.
I would say I do not support funding private school choice. Parents already have a choice of where to send their children. And the funding of private school choice really would just put more money into that direction and take money away from already struggling public school districts. There's a lot of money that needs to go to programs and supports that most districts, regardless of how much money they have in their reserves and in all their programs, not only D15 actually, public schools really could use more funding all around every single district. I don't think that that would help anybody to fund private schools.
Candidate Wong.
I do support the choice that families have in terms of their education. However, I do believe that that does need to be a level playing field when it comes to public versus private education options that families would have. I will say that, again, in my time serving on the board, and certainly before, even after, beyond that, my focus is on District 15, and so that is where my interests lie.
Candidate Shupai.
I do not support private school choice. And the reason, and it's really school choice, not necessarily private school choice, 'cause you can go wherever you want. But the reason is that I feel we're with finite funding already in the public school system, and distributing that funding elsewhere really undermines the financial integrity of the public school system. The public school system tends to be the safety net where students come that have special needs, need special programming, and in order to continue to offer that at a very high level, we need to have the funding to support it.
Candidate Bachman.
This is kind of a loaded question as a retired public school teacher. But I absolutely do not support charter schools. Private schools, I'm a product of both private and public growing up in Las Vegas. But why someone would choose to not participate in our fabulous school district that we have here with all the opportunities that the kids have is beyond me. Charter schools are out to make money, public schools are to educate kids. So keeping public school public is my platform. Thank you.
Candidate Anarino.
With regards to funding of public schools and helping out private schools, I think a little more nuanced approach to that, in the sense that public schools are for all children, regardless of what needs they may have, whereas private schools, they usually just take on children that are the general education population. So they don't have to spend as much money as public schools do. So as far as public schools being funded, I think that what we had in Illinois, where we were actually allowing for people to have a tax deduction if they donated and provided scholarships to private schools, I think that was a good compromise. I'd like them to bring something like that back, but I don't think it's gonna happen. But I think funding for public schools definitely has to be always disproportionately larger, because we need to have the education options there for all the children from all different needs. So not like a flat out voucher, but perhaps, like I said, tax deductible donations to private schools. Thank you.
Okay. If needed to balance the budget, what would you decrease funding for and why? Candidate Anarino.
I'm sorry, can you please repeat the question?
Okay. If needed to balance the budget, what would you decrease funding for and why?
To balance the budget, there's a couple options. One would be, an unfortunate thing, is we just finished fixing up all our buildings, but you could delay some maintenance to the buildings, which would only be a temporary thing. But like I said, if you're very tight on the budget, you can do some savings there, especially because we just did a lot of work to them. They'll be able to hang out a little bit longer before we have to get back to them. The other thing is you'd have to look at probably making reductions in personnel, because the largest part of our budget is personnel. So we would probably not want to touch the teaching staff first, but there could be support persons that need to be perhaps let go if the budget cannot afford their continued employment. It's a difficult decision to make, because everybody wants as many resources as possible, But that's why we're gonna be on the board to make some difficult decisions and make sure we don't overburden the taxpayers. Because you can only force people to pay so much before they get very unhappy.
Candidate Taylor.
As much as I hate to say that, I think I agree. I think that we're going to end up having to happen would be someone on staff, but I have a kind of a unique, maybe not unique, but an unpopular opinion on that. I think that when we start looking at having to reduce staff, I feel like we need to look at administration first. I feel like we added a lot of administrators at a time when it was necessary, and all the decisions that we made were valid decisions. But we have a lot of very expensive people that may or may not still be 100% necessary. So I think we need to at least look there to see if we can make some cuts there first before we start looking at the smaller budget type positions that we cut. But unfortunately, we agree that's a huge portion of the budget that we need to look at as well. And like Frank said, there are very small portions of the maintenance that can be delayed, and to also save some money temporarily.
Candidate Wong.
I would say, and some agreement here with Frank and with Jim, but you want to cut as far away from the classroom as possible. Again, we're part of the school district, and we need to ensure that our children have the teachers, the resources in the classrooms. And so typically you're going to look away from the classrooms as much as you can. To Jim's point, I think you mentioned some administrative roles potentially. There's an additional role that can be absorbed into one. The other is, I think I know it's been reiterated, but anything with building and maintenance, oftentimes those things will get fixed budgetarily to save a bit of money versus the inflation down the road. But I would prefer to spend a little bit extra on a boiler and make sure that we've got teachers in the classroom and support that are doing.
Candidate Chupai.
So after spending the last 8 years working diligently to fix a deferred maintenance program, I'm not cutting the maintenance budget. So we have a 5-year plan in place and a 10-year plan to make sure that the taxpayers are never in a position to be back with the life safety issues that we have had over the last 10 to 12 years. So although it would, in an emergency, that would work. I think the very first thing to do is to look at the efficiency of what we're doing right now. And although you do not want to affect educational outcomes, you don't want to affect staff if you can not do so, when you start looking at some of the programming that we've commenced in the 8 years that, and for sure Anthony, Frank and I are on board, one of the first things we did was started a dual language program. And what we're finding is some of those classes are very, very small with regard to the number of students. So you can combine classes, still provide great educational opportunities for children, but then adjust your staff. And I agree with every comment about administration, right? It's always good to take a hard look at administration, make sure we're right sized.
Candidate Bachman.
All right, so going last, I have a few things that I disagree with, and I want to congratulate the people on the panel with me because they are all incumbent board members that helped get a lot of things done with this budget, and going to the last board meeting and hearing that we were $3 million under budget is a phenomenal achievement. So hopefully that's something that never comes to play. And being a newcomer to this, I would stay, like Anthony said, as far as not cutting teachers. I would stay as far away from the classroom as possible, and try to accept as many solutions from my experienced colleagues to collaborate and try to come up with a solution. But balancing today's needs with tomorrow's issues is what this whole balancing a budget thing is. So I'm happy to learn. Thank you.
How do you define parental rights? Candidate Bachman.
Parental rights. As a foster parent, I had, we have 5 kids. Our oldest was adopted straight from Texas, and then we got pregnant. And then our twins came to us with a lot of special needs, and we were foster parents for them for about 5 years, through court dates and all kinds of nasty things that happened over the course of that time before they were finally adopted. And my wife and I always said that as parents at that time, when they started and went to Conyers and then repeated kindergarten because of their developmental delays, that we had all of the responsibility and none of the rights, which was in direct contrast to what we had with our two older kids and with my daughter as well. So parental rights as far as supporting the kids in the classroom, supporting the teachers, working together to make sure that all kids succeed is what I believe in. Thank you.
Candidate Anna Reno.
So with regards to parental rights, I think that having a transparent school board and school district is of the utmost importance to the parents. And when you want parents to be involved as much as possible in children's learning, you don't want to be hiding stuff from people about their children. I think letting the parents know what their kids are learning, having the parents come into the schools to see what they're learning goes a long way. People don't like to feel like somebody is hiding stuff from them. That destroys trust. And I think in order to have a good relationship with the parents of our students, we need to build trust. Because when people trust you, then they allow you to operate with their tax money without complaining, being upset because they think you're doing something nefarious. I think that's probably the best thing, is just communication with the parents. Be transparent, let them have the right to see what it is their children are being taught, and not to keep any secrets from parents. I think any district, I've heard about this in the past recently, where they're keeping secrets from parents with regards to their children. That's the utmost worst thing you could possibly do.
Candidate Taylor.
I think really what comes down to when you're thinking of parental rights, it would be you have the right to make decisions about what is best for your child. You are your child's parent and you know what is best for them, and that could be medically, that could be where you send them for school, public or private, and it's what's best for them in their life as they are growing, how you are raising them. And I think you also have the right, as Frank was talking about, to know what is happening in the places that you have chosen to send them. But I think it's also important to note, I feel like what we might be alluding to here is, you have a parental right is to not necessarily have control over what is happening where you are sending them. So to know what is going on where you are sending them and make the choice whether or not you want them to participate in where you are sending them. But then you have to then trust the board, and trust the teachers and the people to do the job that you are trusting them to do where you're sending them.
Candidate Wong.
Parental rights, inside your home, and you have the right to set up your home and how you see fit for your children. But I view this as a very symbiotic relationship with our educators and our parents here. We're working hand in hand with our students, and we're wanting to see that growth and achievement. I think too, Frank alluded to is ensuring that we have that trust there. I will say for District 15, I think we have outstanding educators. I can speak from personal experience. The teachers that I work with, both at Conyers and Lake Louise with my children, have been phenomenal. Great communication, transparent with everything going on in the classroom and what my children are achieving. So I think that's critical to have, but it's a relationship we've got to work together on outside of the home.
Candidate Shupai.
Thank you. With regard to parental rights, I feel that parents have a right to know what their children are learning. I think parents have the right to transparency from the school district and from the teaching staff. Parents also have a right to an open door policy. They should be able to ask questions when they like to ask questions, and those questions should be answered honestly and fully at any point, not interrupting education or during the school day, but there should be availability to answer questions. And finally, I think parents have the right to choose the opportunities that their children take part in, and that includes opting out of areas of education they may not want to have their child take part in, but not changing the curriculum for the rest of the students whose parents do want their children educated on that subject matter.
If the federal government shuts down the Department of Education, how would you address this funding cut to the district? Candidate Shupai.
So the two main areas that the Department of Education touches for District 15 are Title I funds, and we have a number of schools that are Title I funded, and Title I funds are essentially low-income funds, right, to help to elevate and bring up our low-income or our struggling students so that they can be at the same level, equitable with other students in the district. And the second thing that it affects is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, which is really impactful to our special needs students. So if it is disbanded, the areas that are impacted by in District 15 are two areas that are significantly high risk and really important to student growth and to the opportunities for all children. The reality is we do not have the ability to replace those funds. You know, our typical response is to apply for grants, but those grants are federal too. So we'd really be in kind of a pickle with that. That said, the federal dollars that come to District 15 are very, very small. So we'd have to get creative and find a way to fund.
Candidate Bachman.
Again, could you repeat the question for me, please?
I'm sorry.
Okay. If the federal government shuts down the Department of Education, how would you address this funding cut to the district?
I make sure that the tax money goes where it's supposed to go. The district, as candidate Shupai said, is responsible for, we get federal funding, as far as I understand it, we get the state funding that's provided, but cutting those IEPs and 504s for those students that need them the most is just something that, like, we're gonna have to figure it out and collaborate, because it's gonna be something that we're not looking forward to. If it does happen, I'm confident with the people that we have on board, and if I'm so fortunate to be a member of the board, that we will work to make sure that those services are still provided for those students. Hopefully that the state funds are not affected with our upcoming Vision 2030 project, and hopefully that will continue to bring some funds in as we work together to find a solution. Thank you.
Candidate Anna Reno.
So if the Department of Education is disbanded, then the funds would go back to the states. I mean, the funds that actually currently are going to the Department of Education have to come from somewhere. Therefore, those funds should be able to be returned to the states, and then the state would provide those funds to the districts. So that should be able to take care of at least some of the loss in funds. The fact of the matter is that most of our funding comes from property taxes. So like Lisa mentioned, it's not a large portion of our budget that gets actually funded by the federal government. I would think most of the other respects we might call, you know, if they get rid of the Department of Education, might fall underneath Health and Human Services too, with regards to the rights of special needs children and funding for Title I. I think all those protections would still be in place, and I'm sure it's much more detailed plan than just saying we're going to pull the plug on Department of Education. So we'll have to see what happens, but I think we'll end up okay.
Candidate Taylor.
Yeah, I think it would be frightening and there'd be a lot of difficulty, but I think we're fortunate to be currently in a state that does have a lot of support and respect for IDEA and Title I funds and those kind of things. So I think what Frank was saying, hopefully, if it does happen, what they're saying is that funding will still exist. It will just go to the state. So I think what will need to happen is the state will have to figure out a way to handle delivering that to the schools. I think, but in the meantime, the school boards we are going to have to figure out how to survive in the meantime. And I think knowing this board that I've been on, even though I happen to be the one with kind of a special ed mindset, knowing these people and even knowing Mr. Bachman, regardless of the ones that are on the board, we care too much about all of the kids to let that be a concern or a problem. It would be hard, and then there would be a lot of discussion about how to do it, but I have no concern that we'd be fine with it.
Candidate Wong.
And just rehashing, again, I know for our district where we have a lot of special education back to the previous answer in terms of budgetary. If we run into an issue like that, you've got children in the classroom that are your highest need children that need to have that money for the services that we provide for them. So I think that comes back to the budgetary question where we need to take a hard look at, whatever that may be, administration, that'll be whatever we decide as a board. But we need to cut as far as what we can in the classroom to ensure that we have support for those programs that need to be effective.
What is the role of the school board in relation to diversity, equity, and inclusion? Candidate Wong.
The board, we are a representation of the community, and I believe that diversity, equity, inclusion, we have a very diverse community here in District 15, and I believe that our students and our staff should feel that there are an adequate amount of diverse staff and students and them to look up to for peers and friendships and so forth. So I think that's part of our responsibility is to ensure that we are praying about staff and making decisions with reflection to representing our community as a whole.
Candidate Shupai.
So from my perspective, the board sets the strategic plan for the district and what the district and the staff do. Past that point is to support the pillars of the strategic plan. So as long as the board continues to focus on the importance of equity, the importance of diversity, the importance of inclusion within our strategic plan, that will trickle down through the rest of the district. I do think that D15 does a very good job of that. We educate students that speak more than 80 languages here at D15. And a lot of those students get educated in their primary language for the first few years in order to build a solid foundation for learning. But children need to see role models that are educating them, that they can picture themselves being and growing up to be. So we need to make a concerted effort to bring in staff also that matches the profile that our students have.
Candidate Bachman.
As a parent of a multiracial family, I think it's very important with my twins who are African American that there is more of a push to hire diverse educators, to have more literature by female and people of color read in the classroom as part of their curriculum. My entire time with the twins in District 15 all the way through high school, they didn't have any people teaching them that looked like them. That is something that they're experiencing now post-high school, but they had a great education nonetheless. And this is, I believe, not as much of a black and white issue. I think there's a lot of shades of gray as far as where we can make the best, sorry, I lost myself. Just as long as we support all of our kids, so with compassion and caring and understanding, and that we continue to work on our bullying strategies and making sure that every kid is accepted regardless of what they want to participate in. Thank you.
Candidate Anna Reno.
I would say District 15 does a good job trying to accommodate people from different backgrounds. We have self-contained classrooms to help ESL students, and it's mandated actually that once you get 20 students of a specific language, you actually create a self-contained classroom to teach in that language and then transition the children over to English. We also have lots of other supports for kids that come from different backgrounds, different languages, so that they can actually, we have translators in the district. We actually have little translating tools, little computers that the kids can speak into and translate it right away for support personnel and for other teachers. And the district is an equal opportunity district. I don't think anybody should ever be prevented from getting a job anywhere based on their race or what sex they are. I mean, it's one of those things where if you actually look at the teaching staff, there's a lot more women than there are men. So, you know, maybe we need to look at finding more male teachers.
Okay. Candidate Taylor?
Yeah, I think just to piggyback on what Lisa said in terms of our role, the role of the board and DEI is, I think, having set that strategic plan, having set high expectations for the district in that strategic plan, but then how we would enforce that is to do really what we have been doing. I think that's what we've been saying, that District 15 has done a great job, because I think, when different departments bring a presentation to us at the board meeting, I think we've embedded so much of the disability, the inclusion and equity into it, that it becomes second nature, that we still want to ask those questions about how we are ensuring that we've done that. I know we have our equity committee and things of that nature that we ask those questions, like, have you thought about making sure that's available in multiple languages when we're sending those kind of things out? So we're just asking those questions to make sure that we're continuing to think about those things as we're rolling these things out. And I think within our program, as I mentioned earlier, just something that we want to push to continue to do more of is to make sure that we are doing inclusion within, and making sure that all the students are available and being able to be included in all things that they have the desire to be included in.
Time now requires that we move to closing statements. Candidates, you will each have 1 minute, and we will begin with candidate Wong.
If this was an election for the best dress, you might not vote for me.
Wow, I wasn't gonna say.
So I have to be a little more comfortable voting. But I have been very fortunate to represent the community and serve the district now for 2 terms. I think the progress that we have made from the very beginning and seeing the referendum through and managing some very challenging times, I think speaks for itself. We can always do better. There's always work to be done. I would ask for your vote to continue to represent our community, continue to improve the district, and in the end, our educational outcomes that we have for our students here.
Candidate Taylor.
So, as you can see by all our answers today, we haven't given you much excitement in terms of like debating one another or having anything, contentious to say. I think you can see that currently the District 15 board works very well together, and to be honest, Mr. Bach will be a great addition to it. We can't just add him in; that'll be wonderful too, right? But I feel like I think that the reason I would say I wanted to ask for your vote is because, like I said in my opening statement, is that I do feel like I bring a unique view, a unique perspective to the board, and it's not an opposition kind of a thing. It's just a way of thinking and a way to kind of be mindful of how decisions impact more of a population than I think we're just accustomed to thinking about. And it's not a right or wrong type of a thing. It's just a way of thinking that most people don't think of. And I wanted to make sure to be able to continue to do that, and also be able to continue the great work that we've been doing as a really cohesive board so far. A lot of work is still to be done. I'm really excited about the opportunity to continue to do that, and I hope you'll vote.
Candidate Anarino.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. My future goals for the district are strong fiscal management and high academic achievement for our students. I believe good fiscal management is about providing the community with the best educational value for their tax dollars. To that end, we've implemented a 5-year strategic plan that takes into account future expenditures, ensuring we avoid budget surprises and plan for continuous improvement. For our students to reach high academic achievement, continuous innovation in teaching is required. As technology advances and artificial intelligence becomes more pervasive, our students need to be taught how to properly use these tools to augment their learning and not replace critical thinking. My vision for D15 is one where every child is given the opportunity to excel and reach their full potential. At D15, we will strive to continuously innovate to meet the needs of the future student. Our goals must be to ensure that all students not only meet, but exceed their academic goals. In conclusion, I humbly ask for your vote so I can continue to provide leadership that works for our students and our community. Thank you.
Candidate Bachman.
Thank you again to the League of Women Voters for organizing this and for all of you for coming tonight. I'm very excited about the opportunity to hopefully serve the district and help all kids achieve their best. All teachers feel supported, all staff feel supported, and have all community members' voices heard. If elected, I will be committed to keeping District 15 schools moving forward so that every student achieves their own measure of success. When we all succeed at our own individual level, we can achieve great things. I learned this in my time as a band director. This is essential to great performance, and I believe that the same can be true for our community if we all come together. If we all band together, we can accomplish, sorry, I have to use it. It's part of the whole thing. Yeah, it's okay. It's because in our community, everyone counts. My name is Eric Bachman, and I'm running to be a District 15 board member. Thank you for your time, and hopefully your vote on April 1st, and feel free to grab some information. Thank you so much.
Candidate Shupai.
Good evening. I sit here at the end tonight very proud of my service to the Community Consolidated School District 15 Board of Education for the last 8 years. I feel during that time I've been a very good steward of the taxpayers' dollars, and I have definitely helped build a solid foundation for the future of District 15. I believe that my actions over the past 8 years speak for themselves, and I certainly hope that what you have experienced in watching this board function in the 8 years that I have been on it, has been a pleasure, Anthony and Frank, for all that time. I hope that that speaks to you and creates in your mind that you would consider voting for me this time if you haven't voted for me before. And again, thanks for giving us your time this evening. I appreciate the League of Women Voters hosting this forum, as do we all. And I'd be honored for the opportunity to serve again. If you would love to have Elizabeth Shupai sign on your lawn there in the hallway, please take it.
Time now requires that we end. And I thank you, candidates, and I'm going to turn the mic back over to Vicki.
Thank you, Jackie, great job. And great job to our candidates. I think the school district is lucky to have all 5 of you as part of their team, win or lose. Thank you all for coming. On behalf of the League of Women Voters, the Northwest Suburban Council PTA, and the Palatine Library, we really appreciate your participation tonight. If anybody would like information regarding the League of Women Voters, there are some things on the table, or check our website. We would love to have any of you as members regardless of your age or gender. We have lots of male members of our league, despite the name. And don't forget, there are several ways to cast your ballot. Early voting starts March 17th, and there's still time to register to vote. You have until March 16th to register. There's plenty of information available on the League of Women Voters website, including information about the candidates. And please participate in our democracy by casting your ballot. Your vote is your voice. Thanks for coming.
I feel very happy I'm walking out of here with these 2 rebuttal cards. So just watch out.
I wanted to use it.
We're gonna talk later and I'm gonna be like,
See how good we get along? You can use it for Jim.
That's right.
Thank you so much.